I can see some seats are still vacant, friend. You can come forward. I won't ask questions. So, yeah. Welcome to Flutter Forward Extended. So, I will be the host for you. My name is Vishal, and I'm software developer at GeekyAnts. So, thanks for showing up on Saturday. Although you all are engineers, so सब सोते ही रहते 3 बजे तक कुछ productive कर लेते हैं. Okay. First, let's start with what we do at GeekyAnts. So, GeekyAnts is a product-based and productized and service-based company, and we love to experiment and build apps for both web and mobile. And also, we love to contribute to the community, and that is why we are here today. So, let's get started. First, we will have keynote by Nitesh, and then we will have a couple of speakers who will be sharing you information with the latest Flutter updates. You might have heard about 3.3, Flutter 3.3 release. So I won't bore you with what they're going to speak. Let's hear it from them. So Nitesh, let's start from you. Keynote by Nitesh.
I'll just plug it in. We have some things pending here. I'll complete that. Where should I put it?
Just put it anywhere.
There. Okay. So hi, hello everyone. I'm Nitesh. I work here as a software engineer at GeekyAnts, and like I have been working in the Flutter I think from the past 1.5 years. And I'll be presenting the keynote here right now. So let's just start. So as Vishal said that, yeah, thank you for coming on a Saturday evening. It's not evening, but still. So let's first look at what has went back. So the previous Flutter release was actually 3.3. And the things that actually came in that was the global selection, which came in very handy for the Flutter web. And the material design 3, also navigator 2.0, I think it got recommended that we should replace it with the Go router. So with all those things, the impeller and the raster cache improvements are helping to improve the performance of Flutter while rendering things, and Dart 2.18 and some of Dart's null safety updates. So this was what went before Flutter Forward. And on Flutter Forward, we actually had Flutter 3.7 and Dart 2.19. So these are the two things that got released mainly. And apart from that, there are some very basic things Material 3 support. It has been enhanced. So if you want to use Material 3 now, then you just need to wrap your theme data widget, which we actually have, and just use the use Material 3 Boolean and pass true into that. One more good thing that actually came with this was this color scheme seed property. So earlier, as we all know that there are a lot of properties, colors that we can pass to the theme data, but Flutter actually made it a bit easy for us. Now we need not pass different color components according to the color schema that we want to use. We just have to pass the colors green or whatever main color that you want to use in the color scheme seed, and the Material 3 will do all of the the secondary color, the primary color, all of those things for you. So this was regarding Material 3. And then again, this is one of the very good things that came. Impeller preview is now we can use it on iOS. If you actually want to use it, you just have to use that -- enable impeller while running your app using Flutter Run. Also, if you don't want to do it every time, then you can use these flags in your info plist or Android manifest XML. If you just do that and you just do Flutter Run, it will always run with impeller. And then the background isolates thread. So earlier, what used to happen is that we were not able to call platform channels using isolates. Only the main thread was able to call the background isolates. But now Flutter has actually removed that. You can now call platform channels from any of the thread, any background thread. So this will actually give a lot of performance improvement. So this is also a very good thing. and like there are a lot more. So something like the font asset hot reload. So earlier, like what used to happen is that any changes that you would do in Flutter, you would just save your app and like it would be reflected on the app. But fonts and things that went into the PubSpec YAML, they actually needed your app to hot restart. Like you'll have to restart your app. But now that is also removed. If you just add anything in your PubSpec YAML and you just hot reload, you can actually see all of those changes in your app. Also, like there are some performance improvements which basically like removes the jank animation issue that was on iOS. So that's also a very good performance improvement. Now, this two image sync actually helps us render images in a much more better way. Earlier, like I think that it was a bit async. So now they have, it was just the two image property that we used to use. But now I think that we have two image syncs. So it actually helps us to render the image much more faster. And also from Xcode 14, the bitcode is actually deprecated. So we cannot actually use that. But I think if you still want to use it, there are some properties that you can use to still use bitcode, but like it will be removed in the future updates, I think so. And right now, like by default, it is removed from Xcode 14. Also, like internationalization tools like that Gen L10N, it actually provides a lot of compile time errors and other improvements using which like we can improve the localization and other things that Flutter provides. Apart from this, like there are some improvements that came. So something like the DevTool updates. Now you can actually, there were some three updates that came in DevTools. And also like there are some scrolling improvements. So I think that this must be mainly related to Flutter Web. And the global selection which came out last time on Flutter 3.3, that has also been improved. The memory management, like I think that the GPU usage has been enhanced a bit, so that will also help a lot. So this was like mainly what was announced in the Flutter Forward. So a bit about GeekyAnts, like we have been working with Flutter from the very like its inception, and like we have contributed in Flutter's official documentation, and like we also have our pub.dev page where we publish open source packages, and like some of the packages have actually very good like ratio as well, and the pub points of all of them are actually very good. So something like Flutter Flick video player, if you want to embed any video player on your app, then you can go ahead and use it. We also have some Flutter marketplace, and like we also write a lot of articles on Flutter and also like on other texts. So if you just want to go and check out, then you can do that. So this is like the agenda of today. These are our speakers. Vivek Yadav would be presenting records and patterns in Dart. Akshay will present AI application using TFLite and Flutter. And then we have Hasnen, who will be presenting power of shaders on Flutter Web. And Shaikh will be actually presenting embedding in Flutter. So I think that's all. A bit of code of conduct, like it will be very good of you if you just keep your phone in silent. And apart from that, like just network, we will give you I think 10 or 15 minutes break after two of the speakers, so you can just go ahead and network after that. So I think that's all. Vishal.
Thanks, Nitesh. That was quick and brief. And so our keynote is done. Now I will call on our first speaker of the day, Hasnen. He's a Flutter developer at GeekyAnts, also a YouTuber. You can subscribe his channel. And he will be speaking on unleashing the power of shaders on Flutter Web. So Hasnen, you can start unleashing the power. Thanks.
faces. I'll be making them friends today for sure. So yeah, my name is Hasnen and I work here as a Flutter engineer. After the Flutter Extended came up, I thought let me try whatever the updates we got from the Team Snit. And among them, I picked running shaders on Flutter Web. Yet the shaders are not ready for the stable. We have to move to master and then make it work. So yeah, the first thing, if you go home and try shaders on web, make sure you are on the master channel, right? So yeah, I am a Flutter engineer. Recently got a chance to work on the Flutter repo. My code got merged in the master, so that's the happy moment for me. Thanks. Also, I speak at various events. Got a chance to speak at various meetups as well as on the conferences of DevFest. So, who are from 1990s and they know what exactly is this? Right? This is antenna, and what does it do? We have to receive a signal. We have to play with that. Get on the floor, get on the rooftop, and play by moving it, right? And if this is not working, if this is not in the correct direction, we get some animations on the screen. You guys remember, right? We get some very random pixels, black and white pixels, right? So I'll show you one code snippet, okay? And the code snippet is over here. So my antenna is not in the correct direction right now, right? So this animation, whatever you're seeing on the screen, is built in the Flutter and it's running on the Flutter web, right? And I have used shaders to make these animations. Now, in the olden days, to make my antenna, I have to get on the top, on the floor, and then move it. But now I can handle it from my cursor. So I can make my screen go and come by just handling these the cursor pointer. So the point over here is whatever animation you're seeing on the screen is built using custom shaders, and this is running very smooth, very fine, very great on the Flutter web. So we can give it up for the Flutter team who is doing all these things, and we are able to integrate such animations in a very easy manner. So to know more about how exactly I did and how you can do, we will try to understand how exactly it works. So what exactly are shaders? So have you ever, any guys of you worked with shaders before in the Flutter? Cool, I have one person. I am happy that people will be, I'm sure that you guys will be doing once you reach home. So what are shaders exactly? That when we know that the process of drawing on computers using a different shape. So what we do, if you are a Flutter developer, you use custom painters, and you might draw circles, you might draw triangles, you might draw lines. Using all these tools, you'll try to make one picture. So in that case, what happens? The complete instruction which you give to your custom painter or to your machine, it get executed one by one. So first it draws some circle and then some lines. So, but these things happen so quickly that we cannot see that this is happening one by one, because the processing power is so fast that that happens in a very microseconds, I would say. And that's what we cannot see on the screen, that this is happening one by one, right? But when you see internally, this happens one by one. When you deep dive into how exactly the processors are executing this, it happens one by one, right? So it's just similar like we are writing a letter or a book with our hand. So you write an instructions, your machine will understand the instructions. I'm not talking about the shaders, I'm talking about when you try to draw things on the custom painters. I'll come on the shaders. So whatever animations you are seeing over here, right? Shaders are also a set of instructions, but they are executed everything at once, and they handle each and every pixels of your screen, everything at once, right? So when we talk about shaders, you can make powerful animations using shaders. So you can see that you have a real a water shiny effect on the water, you have that wave effect in the water, and then you have some fiery effect on the cube, right? That's a 3D cube, and you can see there's a fiery effect over there, right? So over here, shaders are quite, I would say it's very fast, right? And they follow one concept called parallel processing. So when I say that every instructions get executed at once, that is because of parallel processing. So shaders follow a concept of parallel processing. So we'll see what exactly the parallel processing is. So now we'll talk about why shaders are fast is because parallel processing. Now let's understand that you have your CPU, right? And you want to execute your shaders into your CPU. What happens? You have one in the diagram. You have one pipe, right? What your CPU does is it take your first task, execute it, complete it, and then take the another one, execute it, complete it, right? So for the small task, it's fine. We basically call them as a thread, right? So once we give our to our CPU that okay, you execute this task, CPU will do it very in a very fast way and very in a very calm way, right? And so this diagram basically shows that you are giving some input, it's processing it, and then you are giving it another input and it's processing it, right? But when we who are game players over here, right? Who are the fan of Far Cry? I am the biggest fan of Far Cry, so that's why I'm putting the Far Cry over here. So when you talk about the video games, right? You always go to your store and check that they have this much of GPU, the graphic card, and depending on that, you will try to minimize your graphic settings and try to make it smooth. Why? Because whatever the video games or whatever the whatever exactly the games you are trying to play, those are being executed on your GPUs, not on your CPUs, right? Now I'll tell you why they can't execute on CPU and why we have to go with the GPUs, right? So over here also, video games and other graphic application requires a lot of more processing power because they have to handle each and every pixels to render in a 3D way, right? And when you have a huge pixels, CPU cannot handle it, right? So let's say for an example, you have a screen of 800 by 600. So basically you have 480,000 pixels, right? And what they have to do is per second, they have to execute 14 million instructions. So at that time, your CPU will feel something like this. So you can see this is your CPU, which is a basic pipe. And then you are telling your CPU to execute this many process or task, which is like a bulk of tasks want to get executed in a seconds, right? So that's where the big problem comes into the picture, right? Your processor, the microprocessor, your CPU will be overloaded, and it cannot handle this, and that's why we see lag in our games or any high demanding graphical software, right? So the parallel processing, aka what is our GPU always uses parallel processing, right? So what happens in your GPU, we have a big powerful microprocessor or a pipes we can see, right? So now we don't have only one pipe over here, we have many pipes, right? So what happens, let's say that we have 800 into 600 tiny pixels receiving 30 waves, which is around again 480 pixels a second can handle smoothly. So now you have a 30 pipes over here, and then you're passing all those units from one pipe to another, right? Which means you are distributing those processing units into a different pipes, which can be executed very smoothly. So instead of passing from one pipe, so the GPU is being designed in that way that you can distribute the task and then pass it from the pipes or from the processors, which will be handled very smoothly, right? So now your GPU can execute those very smoothly. Now, another superpower of GPU is the special math functions accelerated via hardware, right? So who are the math guy over here? Who knows the math very well? I'm among you, right? I don't know math, and I'm not a GLSL expert, but the graphic, whatever the GPU has, all the mathematical calculations integrated into the hardware chip, right? So in our programming language, what we do, we write all the mathematical functions in the software. So for, let's say for an example, we write into a Dart some random logic, right? Or we use sine, tan, cos to do some mathematical calculation that gets converted into the assembly language and then go to the microprocessor, and those things happen. But in GPU, that is not the case. GPU unit, hardware unit itself has all those processing power, and that's why it can be called as a superpower, right? So I'll show you a piece of code where you will understand what exactly I'm talking about. So when you have all those things integrated into your hardware, so you remove all those extra steps, and then you directly interact with the hardware, which makes you more more faster, and that's the superpower of GPU. Now let's talk about what is GLSL. So have anyone tried any 3D software which renders 3D model or something? Maybe Blender, or have you heard of Blender? Right, so Blender is a thing which exactly give you some kind of 3D model. Also, you have a capability to get the code of GLSL, right, using Blender. So Blender is like, for example, you and me doesn't know, we are not an expert of GLSL, but Blender allows you to do with the UI, so that you can directly draw those those 3D models and then bring it to the maybe video or into the games. So Blender does that, right? So whatever the code you are seeing over here is the GLSL code, right? And it's very similar to, I would say, a C language, right? But it's pretty much painful to understand, right? So universally, GLSL is considered as a painful language because it's not pretty much straightforward. It requires little bit of more efforts to understand. It's not just easy as what Flutter is. So now you will see a hello world in GSL. So when we talk about the hello world in the other different programming language, we always write a hello world as a word on the console, right? But when you talk about a hello world in GSL, you can only do is you can print a color on the screen, right? So basically, I'll just come to the main method. So you have a vect4, which is basically a 4 vector where you can handle RGB and the opacity. So you have a four parameters passing. You're getting a way of passing 4 parameters where you control your colors or bit of RGB. So the first one is R, the second one is G, and the last one is B, and the third one is the opacity, right? So likewise, I have changed the values in the second example, and you're getting a different colors. So this is a very basic program of GLSL, right? Where you pass in some, you use different vectors to make the bit on and off on the pixels, right? So I have some cool examples of GLSL, which I came along on the internet and tried to implement it. So you have a rain happening over here, right? I can control this, the rain effect with my cursor pointers. Also, I have a flame over at the down. So there's a flame effect. All this is happening using GLSL, right? No extra any framework involved. It's pure GLSL. Also, I have a 3D model. I can again handle my shadows using on my model. So I can also rotate the 3D model, right? So you can see this is done using a normal GLSL program, and it's running really smooth. Now you can see the FPFS over here. It's supposed to be 60, but at the original place it is 60, but over here I have embedded the iframe in my slides, and that's why we are getting a the higher FPS. But ideally we will get 60 FPS. We can also change the different 3D models, right? And this really works good. So doing all those things with GLSL is pretty much straightforward because all these things are getting handled by the GPU, and that's why it is super fast, right? Also, I can zoom it to see what exactly is this, so I can see or check the each and every pixels over here, right? So these cool things can only happen with the GLSL, and I would say GLSL is super powerful. But let's talk about how we can do this on using our Flutter web, right? So have you, you guys never tried putting shaders into your Flutter app? Right, so this is pretty much same as how you can do your assets, but we have, instead of assets, we have shaders keyword, and inside shaders, the way you create a set folder and then put all your assets into your folder, same way we create a shaders folder and put everything into your shaders. So over here, the very noticeable thing is the file extension we are using, frag. Either we can use a fragment shader or we can use a GLSL file. So there are different type of shaders. We get fragment shaders, also vertices shaders or vertex shaders, right? But now in Flutter, there is no differentiated between vertex shaders or a fragment shader. We can use a fragment shader directly, and we can also put all the vertex shaders logic into the fragment shader itself, right? So to load your shaders at the runtime, we get something called fragment program from asset. So this fragment program is a new class which is inside built inside into your Dart UI library, right, where we can pull in all the fragment shaders using from asset constructor, named constructor, right? And I have just written an async method, load my shader, which basically bring in my shaders into my Flutter app. Now I have shaders into a program over here. So the program variables hold the complete shaders, right? Now, the interesting thing which you would see over here is I am able to control the pixel values, right, using my cursor pointer, right? Which means that I am passing value from my cursor to the shaders, right? So the Flutter is passing value to the shaders to update the required input or the output, right? So this basically how it's happening is, over here, this is my GLSL file, right? This is my GLSL file. I'm using animation to our animation controller to run this complete animation for the entire time till my Flutter app is running, right? Which means that I'll be passing some value in terms of from 0 to 1, which means I'll be storing that into a U time. So these are the uniforms where I'm specifying the location, that from my layout the location is going to be 0, and the uniforms are the way to declare variables which will be receiving output from some other file, right? Or sorry, input from some other file. So now over here I'm passing the location which is 0, and I'm using a load asset method, right? And decoding my image. Now this image is the image which you see over here. So this is a normal container image over here, which I'm passing it, right? And then using widget.program.fragment shaders, which I'll get into the shaders. Now this fragment shader is having method called setFloat, which is basically I want to update along with my animation. I want to update some value. So I want to keep my animation running. So I'll be passing the animation value on the 0th location. So I need to use 0 over here, right? So this will pass required value to, so basically this is an init method. So I'm directly passing 1 for the very first time. I'll show you how we can update. So I'm passing 1 value over here directly to the U time. So when my shaders get initialized, the U time value will be having 1. On the set float, which is 1, which means on the location 1. Now over here it was float. Float means it can only accept 1 value, but on the very next line we have vec2, which means we can pass 2 values. It's a 2 x and y coordinate, which means we can pass x and y. So over here what I'm doing is I'm passing the width value for my x-axis and height value for my y-axis, right? So on 1, 2, it will be directly get stored into U resolution. Then we have a vec2, which is basically my mouse cursor. I want to pass my mouse values as well to update my shaders. So I am passing 3 and 4 XYZ value. So initially I'm just passing 300 to get the like fuzzy animation. So first time I was getting this animation when it was initialized, right? And then the noticeable thing over here is the set image sampler, which basically we load the image, which is basically this container image that we are again passing into a sampler 2D U texture. So over here I am using 0, right? Which means that the float and the vector part is different, but the sampler 2D is again different. So sampler 2D is accepting 0. So this is how you pass values from your Flutter to the GLSL program. Now, how do we update? I have a paint method. So now you see that we are again using custom painter over here, and we are using a paint method to update our shader values. So basically, I am passing on my U time, I am passing the animation value. So whenever the animations keep running, I'll be getting from value from 0 to 1, and it will be into a U time, so that animation keeps happening. Now I have on the third one, I have value, which is basically for resolution. The value as 1056 divided by 2, so that I don't want my picture image to be resized when I do cursor up and down. I want my picture to be there itself. Do not need to modify the height. So I'm just passing every time a hard-coded number. Then I'm using a mouse pointer to make this animation, make it how exactly it is looking. To make it more fuzzy or more randomized pixel, I'm passing it with some calculation. So this is like, you'll not get the desired output in one go. You have to keep putting the random numbers, keep changing the things, right? Again, we also have image sampler, where I'm passing the image, and then using draw rect, I am passing inside my painter, I'm passing the shaders. So paint method will be taking complete shader with all these value which we have initialized on the top. So this is how exactly we get the complete animation effect on the shaders. Now, when they started making these changes, they have to modify engine of the Flutter, and they took this SPIR, which is basically, SPIR is the standard portable intermediate representation. It's an industry standard for bytecode shader, and they also wrote a transpiler that converts SPIR into whatever language a particular version of Flutter engine requires, right? Maybe GLSL or SQL. So now, how exactly this works in Flutter is, when you compile your Flutter code, it takes the GLSL file, right? If I can show you the code directly, yeah. So over here, inside my shaders, I have a GLSL file, right? Which basically looks something like this. Right? Now this is the GLSL file, which obviously our Flutter or the Dart compiler cannot understand. We need to have see, all this painting things is happening on the engine which we are using, right? This Kia engine, the graphic engine, right? So they have to write a transpiler which can convert this GLSL what a Kia can understand, right? So they used standard portable intermediate representative, so that they can also, they write a transpiler that convert SPIR into whatever language a particular version of Flutter engine requires. Because today we are dependent on Skia. Maybe in the future we are going to have an impeller. Maybe, if we discover impeller problem, then we might go forward and have something else, right? So yeah, it depends on. So that's why they took this standard, industry standard for the bytecode shaders, and these were the changes made for the specific engine. And yeah, that was about the shaders. And if you have any questions, open up to take. Any questions? I have this complete code on the GitHub. Maybe you can find the complete link or the more tweet about on my Twitter handler. So yeah. No questions? Yeah, please go ahead.
So maybe it's a very basic question, but do we need to write the GL part as you showed, or
no? See, as I said, I don't know the GLSL, right? I can find this code from the Blender or from anywhere on the internet, where the animations are happening, right? So you get the GLSL code, but you need to make sure that the configuration you're doing over here needs to be proper integrated with the GLSL part. So the file which you're getting from from somewhere on the internet, right? They might not have, for example, the U time might be on the last at the place of U mouse. So at that place, when you set the float, you need to have that proper index used to pass the correct value. Then only you will get the desired output.
Should be one-to-one map with the file
Yes.
that I got from
Yes.
Isn't there a way to directly write these things on Flutter? I mean, if I want to.
No. See, these are the way to declare variables in the GLSL, right? And that is how you're going to update those values from your Flutter app. So you need to always map one-to-one. I think we are still in the the Flutter progress, but if anyone has worked with the 3.js, they don't use this set float part. They use the keys. So whatever you declare U time over here, you declare U time over there. So they map using keys. The key should be same. So that makes more sense instead of doing 0 and 1, because we might mess up having that indexed up and down. But yeah, maybe in future we can see that key mapping. But still we are on the master, so maybe on the when we come on this table, we might get it.
And it's on web or it's for
No, it's on. If you will run on the stable channel for your Mac OS app or for mobile app. So maybe the more questions we can take it up in the break time, because we have to respect the time. So yeah, I'll catch up in the break time.
Thanks, Hasnen. It was really impressive. I really like the antenna part of the presentation and very informative. Next we have Akshay from SBM Tech. He is tech lead at SBM, and also he is a freelance Flutter developer. So he will be going to tell you guys about how to build a custom AI application. Sounds cool.
I'll start. Yeah. Hey everybody, very happy to see you all on Saturday weekend evening. I'm very glad to be back at my home city talking about Flutter for the first time. So today we'll see how to integrate TensorFlow into our Flutter application as a AI features. And short description about myself. I'm Akshay. I stay at Bangalore. I'm a freelance Flutter dev, and I'm also a tech lead at a company, Sadhana BM Private Limited. And I have got a couple of opportunities, to represent and talk about Flutter at various conferences, DevFest, Flutter Forward Extended, and just a fun fact, for others it's a Valentine February, but for me this is a Flutter February. So continuously since past 4 weekend, I'm kind of traveling and sharing my knowledge on Flutter. So feels great. So if you have any questions or if you want to talk about Flutter, feel free to scan the QR code. Also we can network after the talk. So let's see what's an agenda for today. It is very simple. We'll see why AI assisted features are rapidly growing with mobile applications, and how our AI is being used in our real life. And from a developer perspective, let's see how deep learning works. That is, in this talk, I will not only talk about integrating a package to Flutter with a model which is already been developed, but we'll see some ways how we can, train the model. As a mobile developer, we need to understand that in order to, develop a bug-free AI feature with Flutter app. and we'll see how Flutter TFLite to be integrated with Flutter project, and we'll see a demo. So that's it for today. So our life has rapidly started revolving around AI. It's not human first at a mundane task what we do in our day-to-day life. It is AI, because we are replacing all the manual tasks with AI. Even with the latest about ChatGPT, how it quickly brought a very trendy change in the market, and Bing is everywhere now. We used to mock Bing, Microsoft Edge, but now developers are adopting it. And also, from fun to e-commerce recommendations. And also, in lockdown, if you have seen on Instagram, Facebook, many used to mock saying virtual girlfriend, you don't have a girlfriend, you have multiple girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. From fun to the serious use case, AI is used at a underhood. So let us see. For example, my friend suddenly created a fake account, and he used the Facify app. And this is not my friend, but something similar I got on Chrome. So and he started flirting with many of our class boys, and a few actually fell for it, and they became bakra. And a very fun use case, but again AI, Snapchat filters, and this is one of the similar feature. I can say that since lockdown, everybody are facing mental breakdowns. They are facing they are facing lot of mental anxiety sitting at home. But at that time, due to the situations, we can't meet in person. At that time, more than thousands of applications were launched on Play Store, where it used to detect the mood based on text or virtually interacting with the app, and it used to suggest something like you need to watch some movie or do yoga or something. And eventually these became a passive income generating ideas. We wouldn't have even thought that this would fetch us some dollars, but developers who started it as a fun project are now earning in $1,000, etc. And this is also an e-commerce perspective when it comes to a retail use case, and that is Snapchat. We can ignore that. We need to just have an initial search, and based on our selections, automatically we know that our data is getting tracked regardless of hundreds of privacy policies. But AI is working in order to suggest us the best costumes or daily outfits. And to the serious use case, where before we used to finish the deal of the fine from 1,000 to 100 by bribing the police, but now it can't happen, at least in Bangalore, because cameras are installed everywhere, and with the photos we get a post to send to our room. So we saw a lot of use case from a basic childish use case to a serious use case which is used by government nowadays. But how to develop AI assisted feature in mobile application? So let's explore in today's session. And firstly, let us use a divide and conquer approach, where we'll try to even when I started understanding deep learning or how to integrate AI, seeing fascinated on Twitter, it was too much at once. Like, we have to collect the data sets, and there are image based, text based, so much. But let us break it down, and we'll take a single use case, and we'll try to see how to do it with Flutter application. So we can divide our AI models in two categories. One is text based and image based. In image based, this could be as simple as facial recognition, what we have a biometric face lock, etc. And we can track the object, what now the toll plazas are tracking. And when it comes to text based, we all know that we'll be seeing many people will be tagging Zomato, Swiggy, complaining about their order, wrong order, etc. And depending upon the tone, the bot will automatically reply. If it is good, then it will ask the user to rate on the App Store or Play Store. If it is bad, it will ask about the tracking ID or order ID, so that they can deal the issue, and they can bring the justice to the user if they have severely faced any issues. So that is on the text based. So but what is this AI model? So let us see, if we take a simple example, right? So we have an input that could be any image. It could be car, it could be our face, it could be a watch, etc. And there is a series of deep learning mathematical operations going on there. This could be to PyTorch, Fast AI, etc., where it will be calculating a mathematical formulas which we call as convolutional neural network, which we study in image processing. And at end we have we'll get up probabilities where we can use this last part which I have annotated using TFLite in order to integrate it with mobile applications, embedded systems, and a web, what usually undergrad students use that to demo at their college during their examination. But yes, TFLite is one of the fast and very stable service which is provided by Google. Not only that, if we develop our solution using TensorFlow, we can migrate it to TensorFlow Lite. We have also, due to the good contributors of AI, open source contributors, we can also convert the deep learning model, what our data has been studied and it can predict and give us the output, can be exported to TFLite. And we have an n number of projects on GitHub and also official guides on integrating TensorFlow Lite. So what is this TensorFlow Lite? Once we develop, say like we give thousands of images and we just want to detect whether that is a car or a truck, and we have 1,000 for each, and then we train it for say like 1 day. And at end of this phase, we'll be having a model which will be easily around 200 to 300 MB. And just imagine directly using that model and integrating with app is not possible because of the mathematical processing what the model carries. But also it will increase APK size, etc. A lot of burden on loading initially. So in order to reduce all this, TFLite comes into help, and we'll be using TFLite where the model would be somewhere around 10 to 15 MB or even less, and we can directly integrate it so that our app can now finally it can use the AI integration, and it can do the task for us. So how now let us very briefly see how to generate AI models. So again, we can classify into two, where we have our own data set and we have a very own requirement. In that case, we have to do deep learning phase and the integration phase from scratch, where we have to study TensorFlow or PyTorch. We have to do data cleaning, data processing, and then we have to train model for like months, and then we'll be finally ready to integrate. Or else for general use case, right? For example, I showed a screen where it was able to detect a happy face or a sad face. That is already done. The model is available on the internet. So what we can do, we can utilize the concept of transfer learning, where the model will be used as it is and we'll train it with our data. We won't be writing the model deep learning. We won't be writing any deep learning code. We'll be just loading our data in the prescribed size, whether if it is 200 by 200, 300 by 300, by annotating the data set, and within say 1 week, we can have our model ready, which is trained on our data set. So, and this is a very overview flow on how do we do deep learning model generation using custom approach. So we have to annotate the data saying that this is car, this is bottle, etc. And then we have to select a framework that is either TensorFlow or PyTorch, and then we train, we validate, because showing a picture of auto should not detect as a truck. So we have to validate with the exceptional cases as well. And then once we are ready to export, then we can completely use. And then also we have transfer learning procedure. It is as simple as that. We should have the data and we need to do the annotation. We will just select the model and then we'll train. The bottom process remains the same. So before we jump into TensorFlow, I would like to show you one use case where this is a Python. So here we have one model where I talked about transfer learning, right? So there's something very similarly it is happening here over here. We are importing the YOLO model. YOLO stands for you only look once. because the way this YOLO model has been generated is to only scan the pixel at once and quickly generate the output and move. So this is a very faster when it comes to our real-time use case. So we'll be getting data sets at multiple places. For example, RoboFlow, where it has open source data sets. For example, vehicles we have, persons we have, and also basic medical use cases as well. So we'll be loading the data set and we'll be defining we'll be just passing as an argument. We are telling to take 640 images in terms of 16 batches. So 640 images as a 16 batch, and then we have a Python code which is already written. We'll be just clicking on run and we'll be running, and at end we can visualize over here. For example, if you can see, these are the metrics, but if you can see here, it is able to detect the spoon, cake, baby, etc. So this is a transfer learning approach. So as a mobile developer, when we start learning deep learning, it is too much, because we have to understand, we have to go back to again our engineering mathematics syllabus. We have to read about calculus, everything, and then we have to actually learn Python and do. Once our use case is kind of very similar, that we have to detect something, first we can search on in Google. Thousands of models are available directly, and authors are they are publicizing it everywhere. There are Discord communities, especially for deep learning, for end user integrations, and we have Stack Overflow discussions where they are promoting, because AI researchers have their model, but now somebody has to use it. Without using it, it's waste. So here we are not generating again as an AI researcher, but we are consuming their model and we are training with their data. So this is with a bit of a hang of a deep learning. Okay, like I just want to try now. I don't want to do any Python shit. I just want to have a model. I have to feed it to my Flutter app and it should do my work. So there is something also called as teachable machine. So TensorFlow is very amazing. This was launched 3 years ago, before lockdown, at a TensorFlow roadshow at Bangalore, where Karthik Padmanabhan had showed a real-time demo. All we need to do is, like, on fly without zero code, no code, we can either do an image classification, or we can detect audio and we can work with it, or else we can also work with forces. For example, now we have a gym, right? Like virtually it will track our postures, and with accurately it will calculate the sets, how many repetitions have been completed, if it is missed, warning. That is ForceNet. So let us click on image project, and here we can see standard image model. Let's select it, and now I have to give me a minute. This is zoomed out. Okay, now I have to just give, for example, let me say happy face over here and sad face over here, and we have two options already. If we have our data, right, either we can upload it directly, or else we can click on webcam, and I need to just hold that button to record. For example, now done. So image frames have been collected, and now let us do for second one. Done. Let's hope it works. And here we have some additional parameters, how long we have to train, because the more we train, the more accurate the AI gets. It gets well trained, and also we can verify the learning rate. This learning rate is something at what phase this model should learn. If it is kind of learning something as a negative, this thing, how fast it should consider it as this is not the class, or if it is positive, how fast. So depending upon the learning rate, even though we have our model 99% accurate, it won't classify correctly because of the misuse of the learning rate. Because if you give 10, then just for 2 image, it will just classify. It won't consider the thin line difference of the data. For example, we can have a blushing face, or we can have a small smile. It won't consider. And I have to just click on train, and now it is training for 50 epochs. And now if you can see over here, my model is able to detect already. Okay, sad face is missing because of like bad expression I had, but whenever I'm giving a happy face expression, it is considering it as a positive this thing. And at last, like you just need to do, you have to click on a TensorFlow Lite and you have to select a floating point or a quantized. You can download, and once this is downloaded, right? So you will get something as you will get two models, two files. One is with the TFLite extension, what we wanted, and then second one is the label, because either if it is a face or a sad or etc. And now we are good to go because we have seen an overview on how to kind of deal with this AI. Either do we have a no code solution, or how to do if it is a yes code solution. And I also I have one particular use case what I had used for my final year project, where I used a custom approach where I had to go to hospital. I have to kind of request for data. I got the data. I did annotate that manually and then build a model and then deploy it. So it is as simple as that. I've tried to, let's not go over the code. It just again makes boring. So what I'm doing is I'm passing the image size and I'm giving the directory where are the labels and the images, and also these are the CT scans what we get in hospital. So if our hand fractures or if somebody is having something severe to brain, they scan CT, and at a point the machine is able to generate 256 to 1000 frames that bulk it generates. So we are considering it as a volume, and we are composing the volumes, etc. We are doing the pre-processing, and then once we have the data processed so that our AI can learn, it will be in this stage, the image, and then we will be training. And here you can see I have one model already, transfer learning, and that is called as unit. And with the learning rate, I have played around like 4-5 months, and then my model was ready. So this is regarding the AI phase. So quickly, I would like to stop here, and I would like to ask like if you guys have any doubt before we start with Flutter demo. Cool then. So now let us come to our Flutter integration, most awaited part. So in order to, there was one more package 1 year ago. It was just TFLite. That was very, very easy than the package what I have used here, TensorFlow TFLite _ Flutter, because that had everything under the hood on the common use cases. For example, we need to just provide the image size, then it used to interpret. But in this, we have more control on the developer, because we need to process the image according to the model what we generated, and then we need to kind of use the helper packages, and then we need to see. So it's very simple. We need 4 packages. For real time, we need a camera plugin, then we need a TFLite plugins and image package. And here we as how we declare our images in our assets, as simple, we need to just add our folder. So if you want to organize it, we can create a subfolder and have it as model 1, model 2. If not, then we can just add it over here, and once we run pub-get, we are good to go. So now coming to our main dot, I have declared the camera view, and we need to show that where exactly that is detecting. For example, if I am here and if it is showing Akshay is there, that is completely waste. That is a dumb use case of AI, right? So we need to exactly kind of show me here is the Akshay. So that's why we have a camera view, and exactly we need to overlap on the real-time images. That's why like we have stack widget. It displays the images. It is a custom paint rectangle boxes. We draw it in order to it overlaps on the camera view, and at bottom we have some we have metrics just for our cross confirmation. So this is all about the main dot. And let us now come to the main 2 parts where I just showed you, right? I showed you about Yeah. Now I talked about where does the TensorFlow acts as a hero and where does TFLite comes into picture. We need to just handle the input part and the output part. Like each model, as it uses matrices, it is very stricted mathematical calculations. If we define that as we'll be passing image with 200 by 200 height width, then it should be 200 by 200. Even though if it is big as like 1000 by 1000, we need to chop it down and we need to provide, or else our model fails. And there is a high chance that our model breaks, so that our whole pipeline, if it is not handled properly, the application will be down. So we'll just quickly see how are we handling the images. So we have our we have image utility class where we are using all the necessary conversions at a one place. If you are getting a camera image, how to pass it to RGB format, and if you are getting it as RGB format, and how do we transfer back it to the camera image, how Flutter is able to understand. So we need to kind of write a helper bridge where our Flutter code, that code needs to understand that after we get the result, how are we able to process that and display to the end user. So we have this, and also we can save the images at our app directory if we click on save. So we can do all this. So this is about our image utils. So for example, here we get a camera image, that is the frames what we get in a camera, and then we are converting it to a required format as BGRA, that is RGB format, and then we will be passing the same value back. So then we have a classifier, a very important place we should have. So for example, now we know that we have input and we want output. So we want some mediator to talk between our Flutter app to the TensorFlow, which will be kind of natively handled and will be getting result to our Flutter app. So we have an interpreter, as same as when tourists visit us, right? So tourists don't. 2 minutes, I'll wrap up. So tourists won't be knowing English, and we need an interpreter to interpret back from German to English and English to German. The same way the interpreter goes, we declare it, and we need to declare the model file and the label where we will be reading it. And carefully watch over here, I have passed as image size as 300. And then also we have something called as threshold. What is this threshold? This is something, once we have the probabilities back, if it is less than probability of not sure 50%, we are discarding it. Only if we are considering the pop detection, which is above 50%. And then we then we need to first load our model, which we have exported with our TensorFlow Lite, and then we need to also define in a tensors. This tensors is a multi-dimensional array which is very powerful than NumPy. So which is specially used to compute at a very fast speed at TPU and GPUs. And we'll be loading the labels, and we'll talk about predict at we'll talk about the prediction part, mean inference part. So it's as simple as that. We are keeping a check of start time when the inference is happening. Then we are taking the input image from the camera. Then we are processing the input image, and then we are getting the output buffer, such as the location, what's the classes, what's the output scores, and the number of locations. And then we have a helper class, a small snippet which is acting as a bridge to take the input and then process it each step by step, so that we can have a bounding box. And then we have for a demo where we are declaring the recognitions and we are printing it over here. Let me show the demo. Okay. So I just need to hot restart. It was locked. And now you can see the output over here. So we just provided an image, and this was already built model. We integrated it. We just passed the image. We took the output locations and the probabilities, and we are able to print back. For example, this is able to detect as a person over there and a laptop keyboard very precisely. As a Flutter developer, without worrying much about TensorFlow or the deep learning, we were able to accomplish the use cases. And also, if you can see here, we are getting the recognitions with the labels, with the locations, such as from left, what's the position we have to place the bounding boxes. So this is about the TensorFlow Lite integration with Flutter. We have millions of apps already which is live on Play Store, and also recently in our Flutter Forward we had a sandbox demo where, you know, based on our face emotion which I just showed, Dash and Sparky used to react. If we are crying, it used to cry, or if we are smiling, it used to be happy. So this is a use case about the TensorFlow Lite with Flutter. And to conclude, it was too much. I did rush bit at end. Sorry on that. So to conclude, I would like to share our resources. If you are a deep learning enthusiast, if you want to understand how TensorFlow works, you can definitely take that course. It is very well explained, and we have teachable machine which I just showed to have your model without no code solution. And then the main package which, you know, you got to go home and test it, play around with the TensorFlow Lite, is TFLite_Flutter. So I would like to conclude where, you know, we talk, we meet, we'll be in a Josh, but when we go back home, everything goes, because we need to practice in order to get closer to a perfection, or in order to actually understand the way it is implemented. So thank you once again for coming on Saturday weekend, and thank you GeekyAnts Flutter Bangalore for providing me an opportunity. Nice catching up with you all. Thank you. If you have any questions, we can take over here, or maybe we can have a conversation by having tea, however it works. Thank you.
Thanks, Akshay. That was really amazing. A bit long, but really insightful, and you have really articulated all the points really well. And I know you guys might be a bit overwhelmed with lots of information, so I will give you some time to process all the information and connect with each other, talk to the speakers, talk to each other. And we have Shaikh and Atul also. You can connect with them also. Also, if you guys are clicking pictures, or if you want to tweet, go to Twitter and post tweet about us. And don't forget to tag GeekyAnts. So grab your drinks and enjoy. background music, slow sound. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, everyone is here. I hope you enjoyed your break time and the snacks also. We will start with the next speaker, Vivek. He's a software developer at Zest Money and team lead also. Also, he is a YouTuber. You can subscribe his YouTube channel for more updates and latest videos. So, Vivek, we can start with you. It's your laptop. Yeah. Am I audible? Okay. Am I audible? Yeah. Okay, cool. So, yeah. Are you guys enjoying? I don't think so. Okay, who is enjoying here? Look, he is not enjoying. Cool. So, yeah, this is Flutter Forward Extended, Bangalore. And today we are going to see records and pattern. This is very new in Dart, but these kind of things are already in other languages. And yeah, so we'll see more on that. My name is Vivek Yadav. I am mobile team lead at Zest Money. I'm Google Developer Expert for Flutter and Dart. Apart from that, I'm community leader at Flutter Mumbai, Flutter India. And for rest information, you can see the bottom. Okay. So we all know what is Flutter, right? So this slide is very redundant for all of you guys, right? Yeah. So let me just tell you. So Flutter is an open source toolkit, or you can say framework, to build beautiful applications on any platform. And these are some features that we get with Flutter: that beautiful, fast, productive, portable, and open. Okay. So these were all the old things, right? Let's talk about new thing. The new thing in Dart is Dart 3. Okay. Till now you are using Dart 2. Okay. Everyone knows that. Okay. What is Dart? Dart is a language, and Flutter is a framework, or you can say toolkit built over Dart language. Okay. We have Dart 2 as a stable language, and they are building Dart 3, which might come around June or July in stable. Right now, it is available as Dart 3 Alpha if you want to test it out. Okay. And in Dart 3, we got very few features. Okay. There was language feature, then an update on soundal safety, and one more platform added in Dart portability. Let's look at them. The main language feature was records and patterns that we are going to see. But remember, this is in alpha stage. So it is recommended that you do not use records and patterns in your production apps. Okay. And there might be some changes in whatever I'm going to show you. Okay. And sound null safety plus faster compilation. Okay. So if you have a null variable, what you do? You write few extra steps to make sure that your code works right? You write, if null is, this variable is not equal to null, do this. If it is null, then do that, right? So in Dart 3, that particular part will be removed. Okay. So now that Dart knows that your variable is not null, okay, or it is not going to be null, and it will always have a type. Okay. Then while compiling, it will remove lot of codes. So and for a comparison, I can say Dart 1, okay, which didn't support null. It was generating around thousands of line of code. Okay, I'm talking about compiler code. Okay, so it was generating thousands of lines of code, and now it will generate only 3 or 4 lines. So that's difference we are going to see. That's why faster compilation and risk. So I'm not sure if you guys know about risk. So this is a kind of architecture that Dart will support. So if you are writing your Dart application or Flutter application for Android or iOS, it might run on risk-free as well, 5 as well. Okay. Yeah. So this was all about what we got in Dart. Okay. Now let's talk about records and patterns. Okay. records are very simple, but I don't know if it is useful for you guys or not. Okay, so we'll check it out. So these are some information on records. The first thing, it is first class. Okay, first class means you can store a record as a variable, or you can store something in record variable. Okay, record from function. Okay, abhi sab bounce ja raha hai na, what is record? Let me check that. Yeah. Then you can use a generic type in record as well. The next thing, record is a subtype of record. Okay, so whatever record you will build, it will be a subtype of record, and it extends object. Everyone know object class? That is the first class in any language. Okay, that it means the record is very near to the origin. Cool. Then value semantics, you know, hash code and other functions that comes along with the variable, so that is also available. Then optimizable, so compiler can optimize it in multiple ways. Okay. Now, look at this code. Simple Dart code, right? You have list of object as a function, the user info. You will pass your JSON, and it will give you map, right? But here is an issue. Okay, as soon as you go down here, okay, to get the information from the list, okay, that you passed from the function user info, okay, you lost your type, right? Because it was type of an object. So basically, you don't know if info 0 is a string or integer or XYZ. Okay, because you are doing your own coding, that's why you have written use this as a string, right? But as soon as your API developer will change your API, it will break, right? And then PM will call you, kya ho gaya? Yeah. So let's see what else we can do for that. What we can do is we can create a class user info where we can keep our type. That this will be type of string, that will be type of integer, but you have to create a class, right? So now you have to understand what record will give you, something like this. Okay, can you see two parameters as a return type? Yeah. The first line I said here was it depends on the use case, right? Any one of you want to communicate with me about if you guys have any use case like this where you want to return multiple types or multiple parameters?
Yes.
Anyone? Yeah.
Yeah, but not in this language. Swift already have this, so I will use this.
So what is the use case?
Like whenever we want to return multiple values from a single value, so we can create, like, for example, if I'm requesting doing a API request, I want the error as well as the data from the same.
Yeah, right. So that's what we were doing in class, right? So for Dart language, Flutter guys were using this, but Swift was one step ahead. Now we are coming here to Swift. Okay. So as the use case is that you can have multiple return types. A simple example is when you do an API call, you might return a response and maybe a status code or few more information. Okay, that you do not want to store in a class. Basically, if you create a class, you are adding some memory bits in your memory that is allocated to you, right? So yeah, you can use records at that point and look at this thing. Okay? So this is what record is. In very small nutshell, this is what record is. Okay, but below here, can you see that while importing it, I'm using $1, $2. Is it good? No, right? Again, we are back to the starting point where we don't know what we are doing here, right? So here we got another help. Okay, so this was what we have created, user info. We got an info here, okay, and $1, $2 to get the data, okay, but with the patterns. Okay, till now we were talking about records. Now we are talking about patterns. So this is a pattern in which your variable is initialized. Okay, and what we can do now? We can do this. Oh wait.
I don't think so it is there. Yeah. So whatever data that you will pass from user info, okay, take an example of this. So here you're passing name and age, okay. You will pass that information in this data type, okay, which is record, and then using pattern, you can give it a name, okay, basically name and age. So instead of doing this $1, $2, you will do info.name and info.age. Yeah. This is records and pattern. Aagi sab फालतू गिरी. Okay. This whatever we are going to see is just add-on on all this knowledge which I've shared with you. Okay, and it might go some in a confusing way as well. Okay, so make sure that you focus here. Yeah. So if you don't want to use a variable from a type, you can mark it as underscore. Okay. One more addition, you can use same underscore at multiple places. So it is allowed. It is not like pala underscore, then 2 underscore, then 3 underscore. Okay. Yeah. And the use case is something like that as well, where you already have variables assigned. Okay. What you can do, you can create a pattern like this. Okay. Simple pattern, and your function, whenever it returns something, it will be populated in these variables. Okay. Cool. So this is something that they want to bring. Okay. Yeah. In next slide, not this. So, but it is still in experimental stage. They are yet to decide if they are able to bring the next few things in the Dart language 3 or not. Okay. The first thing is here. Now we know that we can use if condition, right, to show a UI element in our what to say that widget tree. Okay. So this is a conditional thing. Okay. And if you want to use same thing, or if you want to do same thing on list style, you will end up doing this. Okay. You will have variable, then you will check, and then you will have ternary operator, and in then it is null if you don't want to show, right? But what if I can say that you can do this? Where let's say that you wanted these two things already here, enabled as well, but a subtitle on tab can come conditionally, okay, and you can add a if statement there, okay. If something, then show this, and else show this, okay. This triple dot here, okay, they are actually adding these objects into the list type. Okay, again, this is something experimental that they are doing experiment on this, and it is not sure that they will bring this or not. Okay, but yeah, they are bringing records and pattern for sure. So okay, are we good till now? Zyada to nahi ho gaya? Okay, good. So now look at this. You have a JSON, right, which has a type user, and in user you have an array with Lily and 13. Okay, and how to retrieve data? You can retrieve like this. JSON of 0 is my name, JSON of 1 is my age. Okay. Now let's bring, okay, I don't think so we have discussed on that. Okay, so this is the record, this is how we write a record. Okay, the open bracket, okay, then here two things, either you can assign a value. Okay, look at this, it will take type automatically. Okay, you have an option to tell type as well. Okay, one thing to note here is the first two, they are positional. Okay, and next two are name value. Okay, so the first two variables, okay, if you are going to use it without pattern, right, it will be like $1, $2, and next two will be X or Y. Okay, yeah. So let's get back to here. Okay, now this is what you had, and this is pattern. Okay, so this is very interesting use case of pattern. Look at this. So now that I said, okay, I know my variable is going to look like this. I can create a pattern against this particular variable like this. Okay, which says that I will have a map, okay, which will have a key, okay, and inside the key I might have or I will have a variable, okay, inside an array, which will hold value of name and age, right? So look at this. This is the variable that you created. Okay. Then you assign that variable. Okay. You assign that variable to this pattern, and then what will happen? Okay. Not like this. Yeah. So cool. So if you have this, then your code will look like something like this. Okay. You will first check if my JSON is of type map, right? Then it contains a key user or not. Okay. And this key is list or not. If it is list, it has some size or not. Okay. Then as to then you will also check if my first one is string, second is int, like a lot of things. Okay. And this can be removed with the pattern. Now you will have just simple thing. Okay? Because you already created a pattern, you can have switch statement or if statement. Okay. Well, you can say, okay, does this look like this? If yes, then give me values. I took a lot of time to understand this. Yeah. You guys got only 1 minute till now. Yeah, so this might be a lot, but yeah. So this is the use case of pattern. Okay. So what pattern will do? It will match, okay, along with something else, okay, and you will get an option. If this matches with this, okay, then give me values. So it will remove lot of if and else matching, a lot of things. So these particular things will do for you. Okay, there are a lot of pattern, variable pattern, map pattern, list pattern, and lot more. I'm going to share you resources where you can read about it. Okay. Now look at this code. This is very simple switch statement, right? Where we have slash or some other method in the end default. Okay. With pattern, you can convert it like this as well. Okay. So you have a case slash. Okay. You can add some more information. When this, then do this. Okay. Now look at this or. Right. So I think they are called as arithmetic pattern something. Okay. So basically what I'm trying to say is that now using pattern, you can review your code like this. Okay. Because switch statements already know what these guys are going to do. Okay. Let me just tell you what this code is doing. So it is saying if my char code is slash or star or plus or minus, do this. Earlier we were using, and now we are doing this. Okay, like this. If it is an empty case, it will go directly here. So it will be replaced by this. Okay. Ye bhi bouncer gaya. So remember, you are not going to use this in production code. Okay, so don't take a stress. I am going to share you document and resources where you have to refer. Okay. There is a video of 20 minutes where I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so that you will understand in first go. You have to, watch it maybe 5 or 6 times. Yeah, the same code which we saw here, okay, can be written like this as well. Okay, you can assign that to some value. Okay, and if you write all these things in one line, it will look like this. Okay, slash. If your case is slash. Then and this character code is also slash. It means it is comment, right? So you can skip it. So one more thing. This is code for compilers. Yeah. And if you have slash star plus, do some operation. Okay. If it is a digit, okay, which is less than greater than what is this? Greater than equals to and less than equals to of some number, right? 0 to 9. Then do some number operation. Okay. So yeah, that was all about records and patterns. Okay. ऊपर से क्या? I have time, right? Yeah, cool. So till now, do you guys have any question? Look, that's why I'm best speaker. Cool. So let's talk about use cases. The first use cases, as he said, there might be situations where you have to return multiple values. You can use records there. Okay. What about pattern? So pattern we saw, if something is coming from an unknown source, okay, then you can use pattern to match. If that particular output is something like this, if yes, then I will go ahead. Okay, it will help you in multiple ways. Okay, for example, let's say that you are getting multiple responses from an API call. The first response would be the success, second one would be another, third one would be success with some other element. Okay, so you can have a switch statement with all these patterns, and yeah, so patterns can match them and you got your value. Okay, so these are some use cases. Yeah, if you have any use cases that you want to tell, you can stand up and tell. Okay, everyone is looking at other guys. Cool. So this is very small slide which says what we got in Flutter Forward. Okay, so there was some updates on graphics. For example, impeller, shaders you already saw, right? Yeah. Then 3D support. If you don't know, go and watch video of Flutter Forward. You will be amazed with the 3D support part. Okay. Seamless integration of web and mobile. Here we have element embedding. You already saw, right? Then there is JNI and FFI update as well. So basically, what you can do, you can generate your codes for JNI and FFI. Okay, if you're thinking what is JNI and FFI, so they are a way to interact directly with C code or Rust or any other language. Okay, you don't have to create multiple layers into it. With this, you can directly connect with those low-level languages. Okay, a very good use case of JNI is, let's say that you have a C library which is very efficient in doing, let's say, image processing, right? So with JNI and FFI, you can connect with them and do direct integration instead of going through platform channel, then Android, and then blah blah blah. Cool. Okay. Yeah. So with the gen, that means your code will be generated. Okay. Cool. This one, yeah. So for early and new architectures, if you guys know WebAssembly, okay, that is very new to market. So Flutter Web supports that, as well as Flutter now supports RxV. Yeah. And for developers, we got Sound on Safety, is all right. Yeah. Then Google News Toolkit. So if you're building a news app, you can use this. And Wondrous app. If you guys don't know about this, go and check it out. It is one of the best applications that you will see. And Wondrous app uses Impeller, so you can see how good is Impeller. Okay. And that is it. And if you want to connect with me, this is the Twitter and YouTube, and all the resources that you saw here are available if you scan this code. Thank you. Should I take my laptop?
Thanks, Vivek. That was very informative, and you really look like a good teacher. If I would have got a teacher like you in my college, I would have scored more. So that was like really clear explanation. Meanwhile, we are waiting for our next speaker to get ready. How are you guys enjoying? Are you guys enjoying this talk? Everybody's liking? Are you guys understanding what is going on? All the talks? No. Okay, few of you guys are saying no. It's not a problem. You can, if you have any doubts, you can connect after this tech talk. Now our next speaker is Shaikh. He will be talking about elements embedding in Flutter. So Shaikh, continue.
So hi, thank you for making time for joining my session. So in recent Flutter Forward event, Flutter introduced a ton of features. Among them, they also migrated from Flutter 3.2 to Flutter 3.7. Also, we also got a sneak peek at one of the upcoming feature, which is element embedding. So basically, my name is Shaikh Afroz. I am a software engineer 1 at GeekyAnts, and today I'll be talking about what is element embedding and how to use it. So basically, this is how my talk will be structured. First, we'll go over the need for Flutter element embedding. Then I'll talk about how it works. I'll show you some code snippets and explain them to you. And at the end, I'll give you some use cases and demos. Also, while researching about this topic, I came across many resources and I'll share all of them with you at the end. So we all know about Flutter. Flutter is gaining a lot of popularity right now. We can build apps using in iOS, Android, web, Mac OS, Windows, Linux, you name it. So the only pain point is Flutter Web, which has a few limitations. Even while talking about Flutter, we mostly consider about mobile development and compare it with React Native. We never compare it with web technologies such as React, Angular, Vue, or Svelte. This is mainly because the way Flutter works. So Flutter Web, when you make a Flutter Web app, what it does is uses the Dart code and compiles it into JavaScript and uses Canvas and WebGL kit to paint a single page web application. While this web application might be good for UI, it might have a nice user experience and have great performance. It lacks what the browser needs to properly index your page in your search results. Even the Flutter team themselves use HTML structured content rather than Flutter Web and advise us to separate our primary application experience from our landing page marketing content and help content. So that it aligns well on the search engine and the search engine knows what your page is all about. So to review, Flutter Web is not SEO friendly. The initial load size is poor, as when you load the Flutter Web, it takes a bit of time. I'll show you in a second. And plugins are not mature enough when compared to native counterparts. So seeing all this, if you already have a mobile app developed in Flutter and you want to move to web or extend it to web, you might think Flutter Web is not a great option looking at all these points. So you may think one more idea you may have is you can use an iframe and embed your Flutter application inside it. And while that may work, but you have no way of communicating or controlling the app from the JavaScript side. So that's where Flutter element embedding comes in. So with Flutter element embedding, what you can do is seamlessly integrate your Flutter app inside your web content as a native component. So this is what Flutter element embedding looks like. You may have your normal HTML structured page and Flutter is embedded inside it as a component. So for those who have missed Flutter Forward event, this is something that the Flutter team came up with to demonstrate how element embedding works. So basically what we have here is a normal HTML page. All these buttons are using HTML, and on the right side we have a div that is running Flutter. So basically you can control the app from here, and also you can control the app from JavaScript. And since this is acting like a native component now, you can also control the CSS effects, and even while it's animating or spinning or doing its thing, it still remains interactive. So to demonstrate how this works better, I created a counter app again. So I'll show the code and we'll even implement one button. So before that, let me just explain you how everything works behind the scenes. So first in our index.html, we have normal divs and our buttons, and then we use flutter.js, which has an API to load Flutter engine. And we are also getting the target. Target is the div in which you want to embed the Flutter app and passing it as a host element. So once that's done, in our main.dart, we use packages JSUtil and JS. What they usually do is provide you with utility functions to export the app state from Dart to JavaScript. To explain this better, I have this diagram. So here we have our two packages, JSUtil and JS. Mind you, JS is not the same as Dart.js, and the JSUtil provides you with utility functions, create Dart export, And through set property, what we do is take the app state and set it to JavaScript window global object. So once that's done, in our main.dart, we can use the JS library to annotate any Dart functions, and you can call them using callbacks and event listeners in your JavaScript. So this is what a normal Dart function with annotation looks like. You just import the JS package and write add.js.js export. And in the JavaScript side, we have a immediately invoked function expression. And we, as app state is currently a part of window object, we can access it and we can say app state dot whatever your Dart function name is. So let's see this in VS Code. So let me just turn this up. Yeah. So basically, this div has the Flutter app embedded inside itself, and I can increase the counter from here, and I can even control the counter from here. As for this HTML value field, I have a add handler function. So whenever the app state of Flutter changes, I call back that and change it accordingly. So let's go over the process of adding two more buttons here. We'll add a decrement and a reset counter button. So first, in index.html, what we do is let's add two buttons actually. We'll add decrement and reset. So decrement, reset. So once that's done, in our main.dart, we use this annotation at js.js export, and let's copy paste this. And what we can do is, and let's add one more function. So once that's done, in our JavaScript file, we can call event listeners and paste the function name. So we can just say app state dot decrease count and let this be decrement button, and let me add one more function for reset. And what's the function name? It's reset. So yeah, so once that's done, you basically have three buttons, and you can increment, decrement, and we can also reset it. So apart from this, I have two more examples to show you. So yeah, so this is what I was talking about. The Flutter takes a little bit of time to render. So this card is made using Flutter. This div is entirely made in Flutter, and the rest of it is a normal HTML content. So as you can see, and you can control the card from here. Yeah. So I built one more example using Rhyme, which I'll show you in a bit. So for those of you who don't know about Rive is like an animation library with many states. So you can use an animation and add states to it. Like for a loading spinner, not a loading spinner, you can have a loading animation and have states like loaded, doesn't load, or something like that. So basically here I have this, this skull made with Rive, and I can control the animation from the app itself. And here I can also control it from the JavaScript. So we all know Adobe Flash is dead. So we can use a concept like this to create some games using Rive and Flame. For those who don't know about Flame, again, it's a 2D game engine for Flutter, and you can create awesome games using it, and you can have something like this. So to conclude, what Flutter embedding allows you is to establish a handshake between Flutter and JavaScript, and allows you to seamlessly integrate your Flutter app inside your web component. That's it. You can scan the QR code for resources, and you can reach me out on Twitter or LinkedIn. One second.
Thanks, Afroz. It was quite new for me. I also did Flutter, but never implemented anything with JS. Okay. Those who have joined us online, thank you. Thank you for joining. See you soon next time. So for offline people, initially I said that I won't ask questions.